Hey guys, it's Raul again, and today I will be reacting to my favorite books of 2015. So a little while ago, I did a video reacting to my first book haul that I ever did on this channel back in 2015. I will link it up on the screen if you guys want to see my reaction video, but you guys seem to really enjoy my reaction video to, me reacting to past me, so I figured that I would go ahead today and react to my favorite books of 2015, which was the first year that I started BookTube. I have not watched this video in a very, very long time, so I have absolutely no idea what's on this list. I believe it was my top 10. I did like a top 10 that year or something, so yeah, let's just go ahead and jump into this one because I'm kind of nervous, but still very excited to see what made it onto my list of books from, 6 years ago at this point. Hey guys, it's Raul again, and today I will be doing my top 10 books that I read in the year 2015. So at number 10, we have We All Looked Up by Tommy Wallach. I've talked about this book a couple of times on my channel. This is kind of a pre-apocalyptic story about this meteor, this comet that's coming to hit Earth, and it's 4 different main characters and their stories and kind of how they deal with this news and, going through life not knowing if they're going to have a future at all. We All Looked Up by Tommy Wallach. I still hold fond memories of this book. I still own it, and it's still one that I don't know if I'm ever going to revisit it, just because I had such a unique experience reading that book. I know that at the time it was a book that it's very polarizing on BookTube. A lot of people didn't really like it. I absolutely ended up loving it. So I kind of want to keep that in my mind. I feel like if I reread the book, I'll probably start kind of nitpicking at things and won't have as good of an experience rereading it. So I just want to kind of keep it as, that kind of high note that I had for 2015. But yeah, I mean, really good book for 2015. I still, again, hold very fond memories of that one. At number 9, we have Rotten Ruin by Jonathan Mayberry. And this is a post-apocalyptic kind of zombie-ish book. It's the first book in the, obviously, Rotten Ruin series that I really, really enjoyed. I bet I read this back in October, I think it was, with Die from Dices 19. And I absolutely, absolutely loved this one. This is more than just a mindless zombie post-apocalyptic story. There's really... So Rotten Ruin, Jonathan Mayberry, another great book. Another book that I still hold very fondly. I absolutely love the Rotten Ruin series to this day. I feel like this is a book that if I do end up rereading, I probably will end up enjoying it just as much, if not more, than the first time I read it. I thought it was absolutely great. It's like a YA version of The Walking Dead, back when The Walking Dead was like very, very popular and everything. Now I kind of, lost interest in The Walking Dead, but back when I was watching it and I was really into it, Rotten Ruin ended up just being a very, very high point. I buddy read the entire series with my friend Di, so I felt like buddy reading the entire thing too made it a better experience overall as well, just because I was experiencing the entire thing with a friend. So yeah, I still hold Rotten Ruin very highly. Again, I really, really enjoy that series still. At number 8, I have a book that I read before I started my channel, but it was in like my first wrap-up, and that was City of Heavenly Fires by Cassandra Clare. This is the 6th and final book in the Mortal Instruments series. I finally finished the Mortal Instruments series this year, and this was just absolutely epic. I loved this series. I loved the conclusion. It did drag a little bit, but this is like an 800-page book or so, but I absolutely loved it. The last 2 books in the series were one of my favorites that I absolutely... So City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare. This was back when I was still reading the Mortal Instruments books. I've kind of lost interest in the series and everything since then. I don't feel like it's a series that if I do end up rereading will hold up to when I was reading it at the time. I've unhauled all of the books at this point, so I don't even own them anymore. But yeah, I do remember really, really enjoying it. I did really enjoy the series at the time when I was reading it. I do remember the ending being very epic and very grand. So I really enjoyed the conclusion to that series at the time, but not one that I think I'm going to reread. And again, it's a series that I've, at this point, somewhat lost interest in overall. And another thing I want to point out on here, I did mention in that one that I was really excited for the sequel series, Dark Artifices, which I ended up never reading. I think I bought the first book and just completely lost interest and unhauled it. And then I was excited about the Mortal Instruments, which was the prequel series to Mortal Instruments or Infernal Devices, which was a prequel series to Mortal Instruments. But yeah, I DNF'd that series. I read the first one, stopped halfway through the second one, and just, again, lost interest completely in the series. I think that's probably why I just, like, lost interest overall in the series, just because I just wasn't enjoying the Infernal Devices as much as everybody else was.
This list. And at number 7, I have a graphic novel, and that is Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. I absolutely loved this graphic novel. For those of you who don't know, this is kind of a superhero villain type story where the main character Nimona, it wants to be the sidekick to a supervillain. It's
Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. I really enjoyed that book. That's one that I feel like if I do end up rereading, I am still going to really love it as much as I did the first one. I still own it, so it's one that I'm definitely would be able to reread, but I loved Nimona. I loved the fact that it was just a standalone, that I wasn't getting into this kind of giant series and having to commit to tons and tons of issues in this graphic novel, just because graphic novels tend to be a little bit more expensive than just traditional books, which I completely understand because I feel like they take more time to create. I mean, you have a lot of artwork and stuff that goes into it. But yeah, I love the fact that it's a standalone. You get the full story of Nimona. I love Nimona as a main character, so still one that I really enjoy.
And at number 6, it's a book that I do not have physically with me. I have it on ebook, but that is Vicious by V. Schwab. This is another supervillain-ish type of book that I absolutely loved. If you guys have not read it before or haven't heard of it, which I doubt because everybody here talked about Vicious by V. Schwab, definitely check it out. It is about these two kind of arch nemesis that kind of figure out in college a way to give themselves superpowers, and it's kind of the rivalry between the two of them. It's awesome.
So Vicious by V. Schwab made this list that year. Another one that I still really enjoyed. I feel like if I reread that one, I'm still going to really love. I have not picked up Vengeful. I don't really have a lot of plans to read Vengeful. I mean, if I find it on some kind of really good sale and I get them, and I'll probably end up reading them. But I haven't heard of the greatest things about Vengeful. That's probably why I haven't been really attracted to want to get to that one. Vicious was great the way it is, just as a standalone. So, again, I don't know if I'm going to get to the sequel, but I still really love Vicious, and would want to reread it at some point as well.
Now, at number 5, I have Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Sainz. This book I read during Hispanic Heritage Month back in October, and I absolutely fell in love with the story, the two main characters, Aristotle and Dante. I loved the relationship. I loved the family dynamic. I just loved everything about this book. It wasn't perfect, but it had to make this list because it was just something that was just so beautiful and such a great story. I loved the relationship, like I said, between the two main characters and their families. They just had great families.
Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. I still love that book. That is still one of my favorite books ever. I feel like I'm on a roll for 2015. I feel like 2015 was a really good reading year for favorites because a lot of the books so far are still favorites. I loved Aristotle and Dante. I love them as main characters. Again, this is another book that I feel like if I reread, I'm still going to love as much as I did the first one, if not more. But yeah, I feel like that definitely deserved a spot in my favorites list of 2015.
At number 4, I have Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Something by Leigh Bardugo had to make this list because I discovered Leigh Bardugo this year, and this was just absolutely amazing and epic. I don't know, a lot of you guys already know what Six of Crows is about, but if you don't, it's this heist story that takes place within the Grisha world, which is Leigh Bardugo's other kind of trilogy that she has, the Grisha trilogy, and this is just awesome. I absolutely loved every single one.
Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I still really love Leigh Bardugo. I still really love the Grishaverse. I've kind of disconnected myself a little bit from the whole fandom of the Grishaverse. Again, I still really enjoy it, but I kind of feel like I need to get back into those books, especially because the series is coming out this month, and I'm just really excited for it to come out on Netflix in April. I'm definitely going to be watching it, but I feel like I've forgotten a lot of what's happened in the Grishaverse in general, the original trilogy, the Six of Crows duology. I own King of Scars, and I have not read it just because I don't feel like I know the characters enough to just jump into King of Scars and really have that connection with those characters. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed Six of Crows when I read it. Would it be a favorite now and upon reread? I have no idea. I would have to reread the entire Grisha trilogy and then the Six of Crows duology to kind of see if that's something that I'm going to love as much as I did the first time. I have a feeling it would. But again, it's been so long since I've read anything Grisha related that I just, at this point, just feel such a disconnect that I can't say, yes, I'm going to absolutely love it upon reread.
And at number 3, I have a book that I just recently read, but has stuck with me since then. And it was one of those books where as soon as I finished it, I wanted to start right over again from the beginning. And not a lot of books give me that kind of feeling where I just want to flip right back to the first page and start it all over again. And that was Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. This is the first Rainbow Rowell book that I read, and I read it a couple of weeks ago, so I still haven't really talked about it in my wrap-up because I haven't done December wrap-up yet because December isn't over yet. But this has definitely had to be on my top list.
Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I think that's the first Rainbow Rowell book I read that year, and I've read a couple of other books by Rainbow Rowell since then, and I've enjoyed almost everything that I've read by her. Fangirl is still, I feel like it's still very special. Again, it's the first book that I ever got that feeling that as soon as I made it to the end, I wanted to start it over again. Like I mentioned very quickly in that video, I knew exactly what book I was talking about as soon as I mentioned that because it's been one of the few books that I've finished and I just wanted to start over because I wanted to experience the story again, experience those characters. I've yet to reread that book, but it's another one. I feel like Fangirl is one that just, it has such great vibes. Like, I don't know, it just, the story and everything just makes me happy. The characters make me happy. It's a very feel-good novel for me. I don't know. I mean, it's one that I still, again, really enjoy. I still have really fond memories of. And hopefully when I do end up picking it up and rereading it, it doesn't end up kind of ruining the experience for me of, you know, these fond memories I had the first time. But yeah, still one that I really enjoyed. Definitely am excited it made it onto that list for that year.
At number 2, I have a book that I also read in December, but this was back at the beginning of December that I haven't mentioned in my wrap-up yet because, like I said, December's not over yet. And that was Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I felt safe putting this on my list anyways because this is just, I mean, everybody loves this book. I see why everybody loves this book. I absolutely loved this book. This was just so wonderful. I mean, I don't know, I don't have words to express how much I love this book, how much I loved Ernest Cline's writing.
Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Still a book that I hold fond memories of. Still one of my probably all-time favorite books. I think it's safe to say that it's probably one of my all-time favorite books. I've not read Ready Player 2 just because, again, this is it falls in the category of like Vicious from V.E. Schwab, where it was great as a standalone. I didn't need a sequel. Ready Player One was amazing as a standalone. I honestly don't need a sequel. I mean, again, if I find a really good sale, and it's super cheap on like Book Outlet or on like a clearance bin somewhere, I might be tempted to pick up the sequel just to kind of check it out and see what it's all about. But again, if I never read the sequel, I will still be satisfied with just having read this one because, again, Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, even with like all of the problems and stuff that kind of arose later on, it still ends up being one of my favorite novels ever. I still really enjoy that story. I have watched the movie adaptation of it a couple of times and really enjoyed the movie adaptation. It's not obviously not as good as the book. The movies tend to not really be as good as the books ever, but still a story that I really enjoy, a book that I really enjoy, and one of my favorites of all time.
My favorite book for the year 2015 was The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde by Junot Diaz. This is the first Junot Diaz book that I have read, and definitely will not be the last. This is beautifully tragic literary fiction at its finest. I connected with this book and with these characters in so many different ways, just mostly because I'm Hispanic, and these characters I feel like went through so many of the same things, so many similarities. It was just so wonderful just seeing kind of these cultural similarities.
The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde. I feel like out of all of the books on this list, this is the most bitter one to have as my top, just because of all of the things that have kind of, you know, come up against Junot Diaz over the years. Unfortunately, you know, he was accused of sexual harassment at one point, so there was a lot of, you know, controversy surrounding this author a few years ago, and it saddens me so much because the book itself, Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde, is just is a book that I connected with so much. Oscar Wilde is a main character. I mean, being kind of the nerdy kid, doesn't have a lot of friends, you know, doesn't really have much luck with the girls, and, you know, his family dynamics and all of it's just, the novel is absolutely beautiful. I mean, if you can separate, you know, the author from his work, this would be an amazing, amazing novel to read. Again, it's so hard to recommend him after all of these allegations and things have come up against Junta Diaz, unfortunately. So yeah, it's so sad and so bitter that was my #1 read of 2015. But again, it's a book that I connected with so much. So it's so hard to bash this book and to bash the author when I had such an amazing connection with this book when I read it. It's so sad. It's so sad. And I did not realize that book was my top book of 2015. And I'm just like remembering the amazing experience I had with this book and just like the letdown that I had a couple years later after I found out about the things that the author had done. So very sad, and it's so unfortunate. So yeah, guys, it is it to my reaction video of 2015. Everything was going so great up until the end, and I just got super sad at the end. But either way, if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know down below if you guys read any of the books that I had on my list of 2015. I feel like at this point, a lot of people have read probably most of the books that were on my favorites list then because it was so long ago. So if you guys have read them and want to go ahead and talk about them, definitely let me know. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you guys all again for watching, and I will see you all next time.